So we get all the way up there. It's fine. It's like dark. And then Ryan's like, let's eat something. And so we sat down finally, long day of hiking. And then all of a sudden my dad comes up there and he's like, we got to leave Annebelle right now. And Ryan's like, I'm not leaving.
I got to jump in this story.
Here you go. Yeah.
This wasn't like, we got to leave right now. This was like a hour-and-a-half conversation of Jim knew where these bulls were, these elk were. And we kind of knew there was some elk up in this other spot where we were. And and so Jim comes up.
Night.
Dead night, like probably midnight.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've been up early the next day, getting the goats ready, hiking up this hill, get up there. And it's no like small feat. I mean, maybe for Annebelle and Jim, for me, it's no small feat. And I'm like, well, I'll just stay up, I'll just stay up here and see if there's any elk here. Anyways, continue on.
So he decides to stay, and me and my dad take off. He's like, we got to go fast. So we start hiking, and it's pitch black. So I'm following my dad. He has the flashlight, and he's like, wait a minute. I think we're lost. We like circle back around to Ryan. I'm like, what the heck?
I said, what are you guys doing?
Hola, chicas. I'm with my issues right now. Both of them are pretty loco off their feet. That's Hernandez.
Sí.
And that's Enrique.
Soy Hernández.
Hey, how you doing? They're crazy, man, but we just want to let you know that we appreciate your support. And most importantly, enjoy the podcast.
Enjoy the podcast.
Sí.
So you could know that lingo well. Yeah. He runs sheetrock roofer crew.
Yeah.
You have quite a few South American.
That's not fucking South American.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
South
That's
American.
Central America.
Well, it's all south
There
of me.
is a central in between the north and the south.
All south of me.
It's the middle part.
Not American. He has a grip of those people helping him out.
Yeah.
How's that going? How's that business going?
That's going okay. It's stressful.
Is that how you tore your arm off there?
Kind of. Well,
Yeah,
I started it there.
Jim tore his bicep. He had it repinned. Tell him how you tried to save some sheetrock and fucking.
Yeah, it was just a reaction to seeing a piece of sheetrock falling off a wall. And I ran over to try to catch it with my left hand. I don't know why. I should just let the freaking $25 thing hit the floor, but I did it. And I felt the pop, and I knew it was kind of bad. And then I went up going to the doctor, got an MRI, and then I didn't know what the I knew something had tore, and then I thought it was like the brachialis muscle, and then we went up going. My brother came up, and we went up to the mountains and do some fishing and some scouting, and I was trying to protect my arm, but I was up on a ridge, and there was a bunch of snow right when you get to the top of the really steep on a ridge, and the snow was pretty warm, and the snow I kind of fell through the snow, and as soon as I got out of the snow, I slipped down the hill, probably 20, 30 feet, so lighting, and I had a pole in my hand. And my left hand hit a rock. The pole hit a rock, and I just felt it snap and unravel. And I felt my bicep just move up my arm, and I'm like, oh, crap, something just happened bad.
How many miles from the truck?
I don't know, about 5 or so, 6. Anyways, I spent I'd messaged my wife, and she messaged the doctor. They go, well, there's nothing we could do today. It was like on a Saturday. So nothing we could do today, so just come in on Monday. So then I came in on Monday, and they go, well, we already know you blew your bicep, so we have to have surgery on it, because they had an MRI the week before. And I didn't know about it. And then they said, well, I'm like, no, something else happened, like a lot different. My whole forearm had like a purple like line that moved up it, and my bicep moved up. I'm like, this happened since. It felt like a different spot. So anyways, they did another MRI, and then I went into surgery on Monday.
Was there an additional failure at that point, or same thing?
Yeah, we're just more shredded.
Yeah, I don't know. Just fucked it up worse.
Yeah, he just said, "Oh, so I don't really know the whole thing, because when I went in on Monday to do they said they had to get to surgery right away, and so on Monday I didn't really get to see the doctor much, and they put me out, and I was out for like 6 hours, and the doctor was gone when I woke up, and so but then he just told Jenny that they had to dig a long ways to try to find that tendon. And then when I talked to him the next day, he goes, yeah, we really had to dig hard for that tendon. It was way up in your bicep. And then he said, well, you lost about 2.5 centimeters of normal, where I would normally recover. So So I had to pull that sucker tight. That's all he told me. So I didn't really, I haven't been back into him yet.
Have you bent it straight?
No.
Oof.
I've been in this thing the whole time. So I don't know what it feels like.
So Jim comes from a long line of fucking injuries. So you told me the other day that both your shoulders, they say, are beyond repair. They need replacements.
Yep.
You broke your back.
Yeah.
You've had to have the tendon in your foot cut and your like the big toe.
Osteotomy. Yeah.
Yep. Your hips fucked up.
Yeah. That's what I was finally getting back to it after I in January I tore my gastrus lateralis muscle off the bone. So that would kind of put me down for a while. So I was just getting ready. I'm going to get back into it now.
You need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just falling apart. I don't know.
Literally.
Well, when you hit 60, woof. For those that don't know, we have Jim Carr back on the podcast. This is your third time, so you've been on the podcast the most.
Mm-hmm.
And he has his daughter, Annebelle Carr.
Hi.
We've told lots of stories about Annebelle and her elk hunting, I guess, prowess. So she's here to share a few stories, and we're here to talk why a little bit of scouting and how Jim has 4 daughters, and 3 of the 4 daughters hunt, and probably 4 of the 4 daughters that hunt. How is
not
that?
just hunt, but murder shit?
Yeah, and it's like there's kids.
The difference.
There's guys with 4 sons, and none of the 4 sons hunt. So like, how did you cultivate this? I guess we talked earlier, like competitive nature in daughters, because you would say she's almost a world-class athlete.
Yeah,
close to it. Is this true, Annebelle?
This does help when you're hunting, of course.
Yeah. You
it does.
can run a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you run?
For track, I run the 800 meters and the 1600, and I like the 400 too.
Is 800 2 laps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I actually ended up winning state this year in it.
Oh shit.
And I had the best time in all of Idaho for it too.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Congratulations.
You're
That's awesome.
2-time state champion in the 800 meter. You won as a freshman.
Yeah.
And a sophomore.
Yeah.
And then you win the mile too.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're going into junior?
Yeah.
And you're going to still obviously going to continue to do this?
Mm-hmm.
You hoping it takes you into college?
Yeah.
Nice.
I want a scholarship.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you been talking to anybody yet? I
No.
imagine.
This will be the summer.
Yeah, they can't really come to you until after your sophomore year.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. But obviously holding 2 fucking state championships in your belt already, you're going to do all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I think they're going to find you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You may have to do a little bit of, we talk about, my boy plays football too. He's nothing like what you're doing right now, but I think you got to do a little bit of self-promotion too. Like if there's somewhere you do want to go, a specific college you want to go, there's definitely some room for, in other words, don't just sit back and wait for shit to fall in your lap. Sometimes you got to go get what you want too. Yeah.
Yeah. We put, Aubrey played college basketball, and we put her a reel together, her highlights, and we started where she wanted to go. We'd send them.
Mm-hmm.
And track's different because it's you and your time. Well, basketball, there's so many basketball players. There's 6-8 on a team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to, get through all those girls to where your time is your time and you can see where you stand. So it's a little simpler, but I'd still make a sizzle reel and start sending it to places.
Yeah.
Luke can help you with that.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Did you want to go to a certain place? I know your dad don't want you to go anywhere where he can't drive to, and make sure you're not becoming a liberal.
I feel the same.
I'm the same too. I don't want to go away from home. I love my family so much. Like I'm so close to them. And
does any of the Oregon states known for football, let's say, are any of the local kind of schools known for running?
Oregon would be known for
Oregon.
running.
Yeah. So then that's a goal.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Still like 8 hours away.
I know. It's
Liberal
so
that's not bad. 8 hours is not bad.
Liberal as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to stay strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any I know LSU's, isn't LSU really
I was just gonna say.
So is there any correlation with being in warm weather that basically they run better times because they can run more?
Yeah.
I think it has to do a little bit with elevation too. Like people that live in higher elevation, when they come down to sea level for a race, they do so much better. They look like they might be worse, but they're better because they've been training up there.
They go to Colorado and run a lot.
Yeah.
Northern Arizona has they're not that big of a school, but they have the best distant running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about them, but they always kind of dominate even the national, with LSU and everybody.
You can always train too with one of those oxygen deprivation masks on.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
It's just anything past about 10 yards is too far.
I can't even breathe sitting here. Fuck the mask. So tell us, out of all your hunting that you've done in your life, what story stands out the most in your head? What memory do you think of most? Or, tell a story that sticks in your head.
Oh.
without outside influence.
Yeah. So last year's was pretty crazy, but the year before that, when I got my biggest elk ever, it was a nightmare. And I'm gonna be honest,
Why
I
are you
cried
laughing?
multiple times
Oh.
throughout that trip. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was
You almost cried multiple
Oh, I
times.
did.
Oh, you did cry multiple times.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. It was not.
Well, tell the story.
So I remember like so me and Ryan, my dad drove down there before us. I don't know if he had work or something like that, but me and Ryan drove down there and we started hiking up the mountain that my dad told us to go up. But then he was trying to reach us the whole entire time to tell us not to go up that mountain.
Oh shit.
So
with a herd of goats.
Yeah, with a herd of goats.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
So we hiked all the way up there.
Is this the video?
No.
No.
Well, there was a video where somebody put
Different-
underwear on the scope when
That
they were
was a
coming
different
down.
one.
That was
Okay.
different.
Okay. I'm with you. Go ahead.
But anyways, so we get all the way up there. It's fine. It's like dark, and then Ryan's like, let's eat something. And so we sat down finally, long day of hiking. And then all of a sudden my dad comes up there and he's like, we got to leave Annebelle right now. And Ryan's like, I'm not leaving.
I got to jump in this story.
He go, yeah.
This wasn't like we got to leave right now. This was like a hour and a half conversation of Jim knew where these bulls were, these elk were, and we kind of knew there was some elk up in this other spot where we were. And and so Jim
And
comes
it's
up
night.
dead night, like probably midnight.
It's
Oh,
like-
yeah.
And so we've been up early the next day getting the goats ready, hiking up this hill, get up there, and it's no like small feat. Maybe for Annebelle and Jim, for me, it's no small feat. And I'm like, well, I'll just stay, I'll just stay up here and see if there's any elk here.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, continue on.
So he decides to stay, and me and my dad take off. He's like, we got to go fast. So we start hiking, and it's pitch black. So I'm following my dad. He has the flashlight, and he's like, wait a minute. I think we're lost. We like circle back around to Ryan. I'm like, what the
I
heck?
said, what are you guys doing back?
And my dad's like, I don't know.
Oh,
And we're like,
shit.
oh no. So we just take off again.
And nobody slept. This is still the middle of the night.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's just the
Oh,
beginning.
my goodness.
And so we start hiking and we get into these cliffs and I'm just terrified. I'm like, what happens if one of us slip and fall off and then nobody's going to be able to come and find us? So I'm just terrified. We're hiking all the way down and it's taking a long time. Again, it's pitch black and it's steep. So we're going down. So it's scary, like who's going to roll, And so we finally get down to like an area where my dad said he parked the quad because it was like way in there because he couldn't drive in there with a truck. And so we get on the quad, and I think that we didn't have the key at the time, so we were using like a bobby pin to start the quad.
I left it at home.
You forgot the key?
Yeah. So we're using a bobby pin, right?
Safety pin.
Safety
or no,
pin or something.
What do you call it? I guess a paperclip.
A paper.
Okay.
And then we take off, I remember, and I'm just like so tired from doing all this hiking, and I think I just start to fall asleep. But then my dad's like, we're lost. We don't know where to
Lights
go.
didn't work.
Oh yeah, no. Then the lights turned off, and I'm done. I'm like, Mom, and we were just driving in circles, and like it was like this flat, like you just couldn't.
Shit.
And I was terrified, and we tried calling my mom, and she was able to answer, but she couldn't help us. And I was terrified. Like I'm like, we're gonna be lost forever. And we tried using a flashlight and shining it to drive, but it just didn't work. It wasn't a strong enough light, so it was just absolutely terrifying. Like that burned into my memory.
How long
Uh-huh.
did this take from when you started on the quad to where you actually found the truck?
About an hour and a half. Because what happened was I was in such a hurry to get up to you guys that I didn't bring any batteries. So I had a flash. We're talking like it was like a flashlight that was so dim.
Yeah.
And there was a road there, like this old road, but you know how those roads are up there, kind of, and you couldn't see the road. I couldn't see the roads. Like I keep driving off into sagebrush and like.
How far were you parked from where was the four-wheeler was to the truck? How far was that drive? How many miles?
I was probably like 2 or so. 2, 3. But what happened was
hour and a half.
But it's-
I kept on trying to like thinking the road was turning. I couldn't see. And so then I just keep turning and I just sagebrush, so I kept.
So did you ever find the elk that you were supposed to be hurrying up to find?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we did. So we got to the truck or whatever eventually, and then went to sleep. And then early in the morning, my dad's like, "We gotta go. We're gonna be late." So we start hiking up this mountain. There's a trail, like there's like a kind of a trail, but he's like, "No, we gotta take the shortcut." So we start going up.
Let me back her up for a second. Basically, we got to the truck and it was time to drive. So she fell asleep in the truck and we drove to the it was about an hour drive. So we got there. We showed up to the trailhead at like 4:50, 4:40, and I was like, I got her up. I seen a horse trailer and I think the guys were saddling up the horses, and I'm like, we got to go now. So that's when she woke up.
Yeah, so I basically got to sleep like however long it took to get there. So yeah, I was still really tired. And then we started hiking up the mountain in my dad's shortcut. So we just went up. I'm like, Dad, can we just stop for a second? He's like, no, we got to go up to the top. And so I'm like, all right. So we keep on hiking. And then I think, did we run into people?
No, it was what happened was we got up at first, right when we got to the ridge, I spotted one of the herd elks we had seen. And I made you get down. And then I got mad at you.
Yeah.
Because I thought you blew it.
No, wait. Can I say? Yeah. Okay, so he started getting mad and he's like, what the heck's wrong with you? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And he's like, the elk are gone now. And there's no more chances. And I'm like, shoot. Well, it ended up being some other hunters, I think. It
was an outfitter.
Had jumped
with their horses and stuff like that. Yeah. So the herd took off. And was that the herd that my elk was in?
Mm-hmm.
So then I could hear, it was really loud. And so my dad said, we got to get ready to shoot now. And he's like, Annebelle, you shoot the biggest one. You shoot the biggest bull and make sure it's not a cow. And he's like, you got to do it. And I'm like, all right. And they're all running.
Yeah, but you got to the top of the ridge and you said the elk were gone.
Oh, yeah. So Annabelle's going a little too fast there.
I am.
So they were gone. They went down this canyon. So we had to walk about another mile. And we knew that.
You just spotted them again.
And we couldn't, but they were down in this deep hole. And so we were there. It was probably noon before we spotted them again. And what happened? There was some. What happened? There was some
fucking bruiser.
I could tell there were some guys down off.
Look how small she looks riding that elk right there. Good.
There were some guys down in the bottom. They were bugling. Remember, I could tell there were people, and they wind up. And that's whenever I said, "Hey, let's." I heard them bugle, and I'm like, "Crap, we need to go hit this spot because those bulls are going to run out of that canyon right now." So we ran over to this. Ridge where you can see across.
You got to give that picture to put on the podcast. Yeah.
Ran over to this ridge where you can glass across, and literally like 30 seconds later, the elk came out because I heard people walking on a trail down low, and you hear, person bugle.
Oh yeah.
And those elk didn't tolerate that very long. Yeah. And so we were in position, and then that's where Annabelle's about your story about. Oh. I seen a big bull and about a whole like 60 cows. So like,
yeah. So he's like, you got to shoot. And so it was, I think 1,024 yards away that the elk were running. Cause I remember that. And then they were running and I'm like, okay, here I go. And I shoot.
We stopped them right before he shot right over the top. I measured, at that little opening.
Yeah. My dad was able to see how far away they are. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this. This is like really far. And he's like, well, just try. And so then I shoot. And then I was like, the whole moment went by so fast as I was so nervous. I'm like, this is my only chance to get it. And so I shoot, and then I'm not sure if I got it the first time. So I think I shot again. And then did they come closer or?
Yeah. So you hit the bull and he ran straight at us down.
And yeah, because all the other ones kept on running away. And so we were able to pick them out.
And then were you suppressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ran straight out, and then she put another shot into him.
Okay.
6.5 PRC.
Yep.
147.
So are you you're ranging the elk for a time? Is she doing her own dials?
I was dialing because she was set on the.
And let's also put this in there because people are going to hear, 1,028 yards or whatever it was. 24. These girls shoot a lot, and Annabelle's an absolute zombie on the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
When she points at something, when she shoots, her fundamentals are good enough. It's going to probably die.
Mm-hmm.
So put that in there.
I was dialing as we're going, so I knew exactly. I knew where the bullet was hitting. So I just, and she had a good rest and everything, but so
nice.
And then, so I thought I got it. And so I started celebrating. I'm like, woohoo! Like, I'm like screaming. I'm so happy. And my dad's like, we've got to go look for it now. And I said, okay.
Dark timber.
Yeah.
So they're in reaching me. This is why I hate in reaches. I'm not getting the messages in time at all. And they're
motherfucker, you never get the messages.
No, and in reach, I knew they would be in reaching me because my plan was to look for elk the next day and tell them if there was elk where I was at. And I got a message from finally like bull down or something, but they weren't coming in order. So there was I was very confused.
Yeah.
And I get down to the truck, start driving back and pop a tire. I have the goats. So I had to go, is it Mackey?
Yeah.
Found the only dude in Mackey to fix a flat.
Okay.
I was lucky because on a weekend, I believe. So they're waiting for me. Anyways, go through the rest of your heartache of trying to find the
go ahead.
Okay, so we go down there and start looking, and we can't find it anywhere. And I like, okay. And my dad's like, let's just keep on looking. So we look for about probably like over an hour. And I start crying. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? We've done all this.
That's an emotional moment.
And it's not like I was so upset.
Yeah.
And
This
so
time you're like 30 hours, you haven't slept yet.
yeah, I have not slept in a while. And so I think my dad, like, I was really upset and I went up and just sat on the rock. My dad's like, I'm going to go look. And I'm like, fine, you're not going to find it. But I actually started to tell him, like, Dad, just don't anymore. We've already looked for so long. It's kind of pointless at this point. And so he's like, I'm just going to go try again. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I sit there. I'm just upset, obviously. And my dad's like, if I stick one of my poles in the air, that means I found it. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm just sitting there for a really long time. And then he all of a sudden starts like, maybe like 20 minutes. It's been a while. But anyways, he starts screaming, I found it. I found it. And I just start like jumping and like screaming. And I'm like, I was so like tears of joy. I was so happy.
That
like,
moment is almost as good as when you dropped the bull in the first place.
Oh, it was like the best feeling ever. And so my dad comes up to me finally and he said, Annebelle, I thought I found it, but it was just, that's a branch.
Oh, shit.
I started.
You're kidding me. I've never heard this part of the story.
Crying.
Are you messing with her? Or are you really? Oh, nice.
And I'm like, what the heck? And
That's
so
what you get for sitting on the rock.
And then he told me, and I was like, it was a mixture of like, I was mad for a second, but then I was just so happy. And we finally went there and I was just like so relieved. Like that was so many hours of just worry and I don't know. And so, yeah, that was.
Yeah, it was a lot longer than an hour. So what happened is the bull ran at us. When she shot again, I seen the tracks, like he went down this one hill. So I kept checking for blood and we looked everywhere. I mean, I followed every single way I could go. I didn't see anything. And it was like, man, I know she hit it. I see him pump up like, it was a good shot. And then we wound up actually walking all the way back up the hill where she shot from. And I was like looking where it could possibly went. And then I thought it was a long shot. There was one little way. I was like, maybe I didn't come that way, like one little way.
Like a little hook and then.
Like a little hook.
Yeah.
And then, so I wind up looking all around again. And I kind of gave up and I'm like, actually, she was really upset, really. I mean, she was like broken down because I think she, the whole night, no sleeping. So we wind up, so I was feeling really bad, plus she's a good bull. I didn't want it to go to waste. And I know she hit it. And I wind up actually say a prayer and wind up. I'm like, yeah, I gave up because I didn't find the way I went, didn't find it. And so I'm walking back there. I'm like, man, it'd be awesome if that thing we just wrapped around a tree or something, and I'm walking and it was a way that I could not even imagine he would have went. And I look and like, first I thought I was seeing something. The bull you could tell he went up and he fell backwards. He only went like 150 yards, but he went the total opposite direction you would expect.
Yeah.
And he had fell backwards and like bend up in a tree.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Huh.
That was cool.
That's quite a story.
And finally, when Ryan got up there, though, and we finally cut it all up, it was like pitch black again. And we start walking back down, and it took a long time. And I remember Ryan gave me one of the goats to take care of, and it was so stubborn. And like my dad had like the elk head or whatever, and like they were all carrying their stuff. I didn't carry that much, I don't think, at that time. And I was just like, that goat kept on trying to pull me into the river or whatever. Like it was just pulling me all over the place. And it was a journey to get back to. It took forever. And we ended up getting back at I remember it was like 2 or like 4. It was 4. And I remember I slept in the back of the truck until like really late the next day. And they're like, wow, you definitely needed some sleep because I just like passed out. But I was so happy that I was like sunburnt, everything. But I was so happy that next day, like relief and all that stuff.
Nice.
So.
She said when I got there, she wasn't happy to see me. She was just dang happy to see the goats.
That's right. I'll be the same way.
I was like, I'm not going to carry this. We're not going to take 2 trips.
When did you get there?
Oh, I got there right at dark.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Like I had to go into town and they weren't exactly close to the road.
Yeah.
And then I had to reload the goats, re-put all their panders on, start hiking in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't exactly sure where he was, but once I got to the top and it was pretty flat and I kind of came to my senses of how it went down.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give Jim props. He took a man load out of there with that head.
Yeah.
I don't know what you had, but it was well over 100 pounds.
Yeah. My foot was, that was after my foot was kind of, I remember walking, the foot was the biggest problem.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Well, you didn't have enough goats to carry the whole thing, or what?
They can't carry that head, but he didn't. We basically took the whole head out. She got it mounted, so he had the head, the hide, and everything. It was well over 100 pounds. Yeah, and the goats did good, and Annabelle did good, and it was a good day. But you did have a lot of time on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Probably almost
Always makes it worth it the next day, though.
Probably 50 hours.
Not only that, but the story for later too. Like that's the story that sticks out.
Mm-hmm.
Where did she end up actually hitting it?
She hit one, and she hit that second shot was a really good shot. The first shot was a little high.
Mm-hmm.
But the second shot was, I mean, he went about it. It was a lung shot. It didn't hit in the heart, but so they went about 150 yards. But
and downhill, they can go downhill quickly.
Yeah,
even when they're dead.
Yep. But I don't know. It was weird how it played in my mind where I watched him run from when she hit him. I seen him go a different direction than he went. Like that one direction he went, I did not see that. I don't even know how my brain played a trick on me.
Yeah.
Maybe just being down there, you seen him go this way, but he really went this way.
What's crazy is these elk were pretty much right on the trail, and they have video of it, and there was probably 100 elk.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like they're just feeding across this big sagebrush flat.
No.
Yeah.
And then that was up at the top where the outfitter had busted them.
Yeah.
They were just actually bringing a hunter out.
That's
October?
That was October 1st. So they had brought a hunter out from the bow hunter out.
It's the same tag that they have again this year.
Okay.
Yep. Same place.
2 of them, right? They drew 2?
2.
Yeah.
So it'd be Charlotte and to be determined.
Yeah.
Because Jim drew the tag, so he could give it to Annabelle or Emmy. Depends on how that arm does.
Yeah.
So as far as go back to the beginning, Annabelle, on your first elk hunt, we have a video of it.
Hmm?
What do you think drives the Carr girls to go hunting? Like most girls don't hunt, even if their father is a hardcore hunter like your dad. Why do you think, in your own words, that you have 3 out of your 4 and probably 4 out of 4 girls that hunt?
So I don't know. I just know, like, the second I turned 10, for some reason, I just wanted to go hunting so bad. Like, I saw what my dad has done. Like, ever since I was little, he'd always, like, come home after his hunts. And I'm like, I just thought it was so cool. Like, I, like, loved it. I don't know if people don't usually think that way, but, and like I said, like you guys say, my sisters are pretty competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see I do it, they want to do it too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how it all falls in. It's like, I'm going to do better than you. It's always like, who's going to shoot the better elk this year? You know, that kind of stuff. But like, it all started with how bad I always saw my dad like go hunting. And he's like that type of dad that cares so much. He's like, he wants to make it fun for you, even though like we argue and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, he'll get us a smoothie and say, it's okay, you know? But no, it's.
In the heat of the moment, the dads can be pretty tough.
Yeah.
I've seen Jim yell at his mom.
What are you shooting at?
No, she didn't want to make a shot, and he's like, "Mom, we're up here wasting our freaking time. Shoot the elk." So that's end of it. Just you think it's competitive nature,
Kind of,
and also fostered from your dad. You know,
mm-hmm.
It does help when you have a dad that pushes himself so hard he's falling apart.
Yes,
yes,
and we've had
never given up.
A lot of arguments. He pushes me a lot. Like, again, it's really hard sometimes, but then I'm so thankful for it because you see a lot of other kids today, they're not pushed by like their parents or whatever. And even though like sometimes it's difficult, like it's made me a better person. And like I've gotten to do a lot of cool things because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just really thankful like that my dad is so like, he wants us to do good in running and hunting. Like you can see he genuinely cares and he wants me to be good. So
does he push you harder in the hunting side or the running side? Like physically and mentally?
Running.
Yeah.
I make a lot of mistakes like hunting, like he gets mad at me about that kind of stuff, but I'm willing to go like, if I'm going to get a good elk, I'm willing to go wherever I have to go. But with running, at first it was so hard. My dad's like, you need to go run on the treadmill. And I'm like, I do not want to. Like, it was a fight every time.
There's not a lot of, not only, I would say kids, girl or boy, there's not a lot of men that would stay up for 50 plus hours and put in 20 plus miles in that terrain.
Yeah.
They're just not. So that's pretty cool. Would you give, what do you got a tip for any young females that are starting to hunt? Do you got any tips or tactics or any words of advice?
I don't know. I guess you kind of just gotta make it fun sometimes. Like I pretend to Like I'm talking to myself throughout the whole entire hunt. Like I'm going to do this now.
Out loud
Like-
or to yourself?
Both. Like my dad knows I'm kind of crazy. It was like, he was, hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Like even if I don't have a channel, I'm talking to myself about my imaginary channel. Like make it fun for yourself and like, I don't know, find a way to put it in a way you like it. Cause obviously it's hard, but if you put it in a different way or think about it in a different way, like this is going to be worth it in the end. And I don't know, sometimes that can push you or like think, I don't know. Especially if you've done multiple hunts, you're like, okay, I usually end up happy at the end of a hunt. And I know this is the hard part, but you just got to push through and then you'll have a cool story or you're going to, you know, have something cool that you've done. And so I don't know if other people think that way, but that's kind of it.
Not a lot of people get to see elk like that in the wild either. It's a dry. Once you see it the first time or you kill a big bull like that, it's addicting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many bulls you on to now? Oh, in total elk?
I honestly don't know.
7, I think.
Yeah.
You shot
7,
at least
6
5 bulls, right?
Yeah, at least. And then 2 cows but I don't remember how many bulls. At least 5.
That bull in your story is about 3 times bigger than my biggest bull.
It's in their house and it's upstairs. It's a good bull.
It's a good bull.
What's your favorite piece of gear? Last question. Favorite piece of gear? Go on every hunt or has to go with you.
Hiking poles.
Trekking poles?
Trekking poles, yeah, because like when you're going up those steep mountains, you're gonna fall over if you don't have those things. And so definitely for me. And also a good backpack, because when I didn't have a good backpack, my back and hips started to hurt really bad.
Speaking of that, what is that backpack? Because it fits the girls. Like, what is that name of that?
Yeah, so it is Western. Oh shoot,
He built it for kids as they grow, right?
yeah, Western.
I should know too. He's on Rockside, and I can't remember.
And I know it. It's a great backpack.
Yeah.
It's a game changer for the girls. She actually packed this last hunt. She packed the most she's ever packed out before. And the pack, because they don't make packs for kids or smaller frame people. And like when we did it before, I just felt bad the whole time because the pack is like you can see it just weighing on her shoulder. Just totally off.
Yeah, the
kilter.
chest strap's choking them to death.
Yeah, it's not even on her shoulders and her hips are ripping apart. But this pack. I don't know why I can't say off the top of my head, but it's Western. They're out of North Dakota.
Western Adventures or Western Outdoors.
Western.
I can't think.
Man, it's right off.
Anyway, we'll get Western packs for kids.
Yeah, Western Edge.
That's it.
Yep, Western Edge gear.
It's amazing how well that fit you and Emmy.
Oh, it's actually comfortable. Like compared to the other backpacks I've had to take. Oh, and even just by itself, like I feel like it just fits to the point where it's like I can put more weight on. But before it's like weighing me down and I'm just like, I'm going to fall down the mountain if I'm not, if I don't have it on comfortably. So it's made a big difference.
The best part about being the oldest, Annabelle, is you don't get the hand-me-downs.
I know.
You get the new shit.
First new shit. Awesome.
Enhance your shooting experience with STOCKY'S stocks. Are you tired of struggling with mediocre rifle stocks that hinder your performance? Imagine having a high-quality rifle stock that not only enhances your accuracy, but also provides superior strength and a lightweight build. STOCKY'S Stocks offers a wide range of premium rifle stocks manufactured with hand-lay-up carbon fiber construction, a patented carbon fiber AccuBlock, and multiple finish options. Whether you're a long-range shooter or a hunting enthusiast, our stocks are perfect for you. Experience unmatched precision and durability with STOCKY'S stocks. We provide stock installation instructions, technical support, and guidance to help you choose the right stock for your rifle. Upgrade your shooting game today with STOCKY'S stocks.
Well, Jim, we should pivot to scouting. You're a
Right.
scouting expert.
Yep.
We literally had Dione on last week, and he said, "Yeah, you're a guy to listen to." I don't know if he's right or wrong, but
I
that's
don't
what
know.
he said. So it's July 12th. Going scouting. What are we looking for?
It's a good time to be out. The last couple, this heat right now that we have is kind of slows things down a little bit, but yeah, it's time we want to be out scouting.
Is there any particular things you look for, like as far as terrain features, or you're going up to look for? Are they still red? Pretty dang red color?
Yeah,
like
the higher country are like, so some of that lower stuff, you get drier, they start to blend in a little bit more. Where I like to hit the green, because I was just up the other day and they were really red. So the high country, it's prime time for high country right now. The high country just opened up. The bucks are just moving up there. And I always find animals when they first get to their summer range, they're out a lot more than they are, when I feel like they get their fat put on and they, then they start to like kind of change their habits a little bit. So I'm always been a fan of earlier scouting better. So like say you got a lower country, like a couple weeks ago, I was up scouting. Maybe it's more than a couple weeks now.
Pull that microphone.
And I was finding good bucks. I was pretty excited about it. We didn't actually get a tag in that area, but and that was a little bit lower country, and they pop so good against the the green terrain. Now that's already dried up, so they'll still pop, but right now the high country is really green, and the bucks are just pulling up into pulling home right now. It was a good time to be finding them.
So it is like mid-July. How do you
even early July? I just find when they first get to their home for the rest of the summer, I almost feel like they're like a kid in a candy shop for a couple of weeks.
And that's early June, mid-June?
Oh, right now it's like high country is July, early July. Okay. And not that they won't be always visible and spottable. I just find out like that early part where they have that new shoots coming up, they're at their home. I see bigger, I see them a little more quicker,
Do you change your method for elk to deer?
Yeah, elk, I mean, I'm looking more at it's a good time to elk. The elk tend to, the bucks when they hit home, they're usually in that area. The elk, like in, depending like in even the high country, a lot of the cows are, they're down, calving still, they're just coming up now. So I find the elk will move around a little bit. I'm more looking for terrain, and you'll find the bachelor herds of bulls up high, and then the cows will pull up. So there's still some movement going on with elk.
Do you change so mid-July right now? Do you change your strategy in August at all, or you're looking for the same general areas?
I'm looking for the same general areas. I like to in the best time to hit a new area, I feel, is earlier. Like if you're going to scout a new basin or a new country, like that earlier. That way you have a better. I consider all your odds. Say you're going to a new country, and like I've said before, maybe on this podcast, is the like sometimes you have I feel like there's a window of the time when those bucks are out more, even bulls are out more, feeding more. They're easier to see. That's why I like early scouting to at least find out where they're at. Cause when it dries up and they get a little bit more wary in their terrain, they seem to be out less. So they might still be there, but you have to look a lot harder to find them. And if you don't know they're there and you're looking at new terrain, I'd rather find bucks that pop real quick than, it's always easier to look hard in an area that there's bucks than rather, okay, I think there might be bucks in this country. So you just tend to look a little bit less hard, I think, but if you knew they were in there, you're going to look harder. I'm going to look in that glass a lot harder than if you expect to see something. I think it's just that confidence. I expect I'm going to see something here. So then you'll be glassing harder behind trees, where you need to be glassing versus like, I don't have a clue if there's freaking anything in here or not. So, like to put the effort forth to glass to make it work,
And you were talking earlier when Jake was talking about this early season deer tag, you used the moon a lot. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, I don't know for deer, especially bucks.
Can you blow that up a little bit, Rhett?
Even bulls. I just find a little bit more consistency with that new moon. I've seen some great days with a full moon, but I've also had on a full moon in a spot that, for instance, like say on my one brother's hunt, we seen what do we see? We seen a ton of bucks late afternoon. Right?
Is that a full moon?
It's full moon.
Oh yeah.
But in the morning,
40 bucks out
there.
Yeah.
The morning before, we seen maybe 2 bucks. The next morning, full moon, first thing in the morning, I get up after we packed that buck out. I glassed everything. I seen 2 deer in the whole mountain because they just ain't out. Like they have less consistent, they might have fed all night, and then there might be days that they're more out in the evening time and then not out in the morning time. There's just a little less consistency. Whenever you have a dark, it's usually more consistent. First thing in the morning, they're going to be out for a couple hours. It's just a consistent thing rather than, like I looked. There was 40 bucks we seen the night before, and I looked that whole mountain ridge over again the next morning, seeing if there's any, just for fun.
Yep.
There was nothing, so this consistency,
So this is September 2024 here. So you're right about the beginning of the month there.
Yeah.
With a new moon on the 3rd, that time right there is going to be the best because they don't have any light at night to be feeding.
Yep.
So they're going to be out, like you said, consistently in the morning. So if we hunt that next week, that'll be a good.
Yeah. And I know people have, we full moon or no full moon, you got to go when you got to go. But
Mm-hmm.
and you can have just as good of luck. I mean, you can see more bucks on a moon, but I'm just saying that consistency. You know, you can have a crappy morning. Like I've had more crappy. You know, like you get to a basin you wanted to glass for a long time, and you go up there in the full moon, and you think there's nothing in there. And then you go back a week later, 2 weeks later, and I've had it. You know, where I've seen 30 bucks in the basin, and we go back, and it just happens to be full moon. I'm not even thinking about it. And you know, the temperature differences make a difference too. You know, if it's hot versus cool. But I've also had it where you go in there, you're expecting to see all these bucks, and then you don't see anything, so you lose that confidence in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or we didn't see anything when we went back. And then I've had a one of my best spots. I just happened to go there during a full moon. The first time I've been in there because it looked great to me, and I didn't see jack.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing, the reason I went back there again is I seen tracks everywhere. It was like, it was tracked up. And I'm like, so I happened to go back there, you know, actually during the season. And I was like, man, I'm just going to try it. And we went in there, we seen, I don't know, 30 bucks. It was one of the best hunting days ever. But it was a spot that I had scouted during the summer on a full moon, and I didn't see anything.
Really?
I mean, I seen like a one cow pop out of the timber.
Yeah.
Then we go back and it was loaded up, you know, but I knew that another thing when you're scouting, you're always looking for sign, you know, like no matter what during the day, if you're walking, you're looking, you're like, okay, man, there's tracks all over here. There's nothing in here. You know, you're always getting a picture no matter what you're doing. Like even when you're driving driving roads, you're always looking what you might want to be checking out in the evening. So you're not wasting time, your valuable time, but you're definitely always looking at the terrain, and like you'll look and you see a bunch of old crap everywhere. You know, good indication it might just be winter range. You know, but
So like in this situation, if we were going to go scout, we should probably go scout next month during the new moon time frame there, and then you're going to know kind of what to expect the next month.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. I like the new moon. I mean, if you can control it. Now there's other things that, like I said, like just say it just happens to be the beginning part of the month. It happens to be like 100 degrees versus like, and then in the middle, it's a lot cooler. You know, that temperature will make a difference for sure. And then if you know, there's a bunch of fires coming in, fires can unravel all this, you know, with scouting, with smoke, you know, that can unravel everything. So there's things.
Yeah.
That's another reason to go earlier than later.
Yeah.
You know? I've had areas I waited to go scout. You know, you go wait to go scout later, and you go, oh, I'm going to go scout this in August or whatever. And then all of a sudden fires start burning somewhere, and you know what happens when that happens.
So we had one Dione on. I'm not far from a mule deer expert. I like elk a little more, but I'm always looking for deer when I'm looking for elk. And I noticed the first 10 days when they're velvet deer, I see them pretty much every day. As soon as they pop their velvet off, I don't see them as much. My thought was, and what I've heard is like insects and all different kinds of things, that they start hitting the timber more because they're not so concerned about being out in the open. What is your thoughts on why they kind of disappear from those big open areas they were in previously?
I'll say the insects, but also like their horn, you know, they like to be, I don't think they like rubbing their horns against brush whenever they're in velvet, you know. So then they'll move down into the timber a little bit more, you know, later. I think because they don't like that, you know, whenever they have that velvet in there, and they're more apt to be bedded up under, you know, behind a scrub pine or something, you know, and it's probably just because they're not whacking their antlers all the time on stuff.
Yeah. And like Dione, phenomenal hunter, but he doesn't hunt a lot of the stuff that we hunt where we're going to be hunting for this tag that Jake's daughter has. And these are like fucking hunting coastal blacktails, man. They're not very long. They got fucking tons of timber to hide in. So it's very difficult after that to shed, or as soon as they shed that velvet, it's hard to find them.
Oh, yeah, it is definitely. And the thing about up here where we're hunting is their feed sources. That's one thing about down there, you know, a lot of other classic mule deer country, they have more feed sources that are just, they're open, you know, they're going to be open up here. They get their brushes and stuff from, it don't have to be open, you know. You know, obviously they like a little bit more sunlight, you know, for mule deer, you know, because you get more shrubs and stuff, but they get up here the consistency of, they don't have to go to this open basin to get their food because there's not a lot of it. So
do you think they don't make big moves? I've asked Robbie this, I've asked Dione. They're probably still within that mile. They're just more timbered up.
Yep. Yeah, I think the deer, especially up here, they don't migrate very far at all. They just go down slope. You know, they're not going to a winter range. Like some areas, you know, there's areas down other spots that I go there, you know, they're 60-mile winter range, you know.
These ones pretty much live where they live.
So they're going to work their way up to their summer basin, and then they'll kind of have a faster track back down to their winter range, you know. Well, these ones are just slope differences.
The other thing I got a question for you is you've told me multiple times that a certain burn came back that was deer friendly, came back elk friendly, or vice versa. What does that mean?
It just, so, you know, until you get in there, you can't really tell, you know, they might all look really green. Some of them don't, but, and some, you know, there's elk typically like different foods than mule deer, you know, you get a lot of the grasses. So usually burns come back elk friendly quicker. You know, you got a lot more of the grasses and certain forbs that they're eating, come up right away.
I mean, can you look glass across at a canyon and on a fresh bird and say, "Oh, that's definitely going to be elk
yeah, no,
friendly."
you can. And what
are
you're
you
looking
looking
for
for?
is like
Yeah.
the type of you do got to know what is growing back. I've been tricked one time on it. There was an area that had burnt, and it had a brush that the deer liked, and so I always found a deer around that brush no matter what. And first time I went and looked at it, I looked at it from afar, you know, because I wasn't really scouting it yet. I had to go do something, but I was just driving. I pulled over where I can see the ridge from 5 miles away or whatever. And I put a spotter up there and I glassed and I seen all that brush. I'm like, oh, sweet, that brush came back. Yeah, I thought it did. But a total different brush had grown up there. And when I actually went up there to go look for mule deer, because it was always a mule deer spot, not an elk spot. And when I went up there, I noticed the brush was totally different. It was the same color, it looked in the same spots, but it was a different brush, you know? And it came back right away. And there were so many elk up there, and the elk were eating that brush, but the deer weren't touching it. And I didn't see hardly any deer. And that burn really never came back to, I think it burnt a lot hotter. So it actually never came back completely for mule deer. A lot of the brushes they had before didn't come back. I don't know if they got scorched. And then, you know, there's a couple other elk areas, a couple areas that came back really good for elk that I know of. But the deer, you know, the deer brushes take longer to grow, but they might take 5 years. So a couple areas I've noticed they came phenomenal deer country, like way better than they'd ever been before. But all these brushes that maybe just was a little bit of them in there. I don't know if the fire spread the brush around, but that sunlight allowed these brushes to thrive and, you know, getting rid of that timber. And then these brushes came back and the mule deer you could look at the patches and the mule deer are going to be on those patches, you know, like, so you just look at the brush. Okay. I see that brush. There's gonna be deer there, you know, and you look at another burn, somebody might see it looks as good as that burn, but you look at it and when you get in there, you notice the deer ain't touching that stuff, you know, and so that they're not going to be at a place they don't want to eat, you know?
So you talked about scouting for let's say an early season tag. What about scouting in the same situation, you know, with this tag we're talking about, but you strike out on the early September week and you're going to do some scouting for the rutting week?
Yeah. So one of the things you want to look at, looking at the whole time you're scouting when you're driving up there, you want to be looking for access, and then look for winter range stuff too. You know, while you're on, you know, where these deer are going to. It always has a story. You look on the side of the mountain, you'll see game trails. You know, I'm always just taking count of these things, and you want to look. You're gonna want to also think about access. Say you got a lot of snow. I mean, there might be spots you ain't gonna get to. So you're looking for your places that look like you can hunt here effectively. I'd rather go in a spot that I look like, you know, if you could think you can hunt it versus that you think you can't hunt it. Like say it's just a nasty freaking ridge that you don't think you can hunt. I mean, you're looking for spots that look like they'd be fun to hunt or good to hunt effectively. But you're also, you know, you got to think that there's going to be deer there or whatever you're looking for. So I'm always looking for, you know, the spots you can hunt effectively as you're going. But you're also looking for those game trails. Like if there's a bunch of game trails that you could tell that in the wintertime they're down, that's a good indication, you know?
Okay. So when they're moving, how does the rut coincide with moving to winter range?
Snow depth sometimes, you know, so there's definitely a lot of things that, you know, that come into play depending on the area. Like, you know, like the bucks that we're going to be looking at, they don't move a long ways for your daughter's hunt. They don't move a long ways to winter range. So you're going to be looking for does. And a lot of times they're only going to move down a little bit, you know, so we're not talking big, vast majority, but what you're going to be looking at for, say in the early season, we're hunting the top of the ridge or where we're finding the deer at. You're going to be looking for, okay, if these deer, if they get you get 2 or 3 feet of snow up here, the deer are going to probably pull down into this. And that's where we found a lot of these bucks that we found in November.
Mhm.
You know, they might have been a little bit higher in September or, you know, early, but they just moved down to these brush fields. You're looking for those like brush fields that the deer are going to like ceanothus brush and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be looking, okay, they're going to probably pull into here. And you got to kind of guesstimate they'll be in that.
So generally, kind of the worse the terrain, the worse the country you're hunting in, the less the deer are going to move between summer and winter range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have deer. We don't have mule deer winter range up here. That's why we have a limited supply of mule deer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have like down low mule deer brush fields.
Gotcha.
You know?
Okay.
Too much timber. Jimbo, I got one more question for you. How many phones has your dad broke or lost?
So many. They just drop out of the car and then they'll crack. And, oh, he's gone through so many phones.
Huh.
My mom's gone through like 2 or 3. Like she only gets a new phone when that phone doesn't work anymore. My dad just like, oh, drop this phone today. Like last year he dropped his phone into the lake. And he's like, I need that phone. I need to make some important calls. And we like try like searching down there. And yeah, he basically.
At least
always.
The nice thing about phones today is everything just kind of transfers.
Yeah.
I can remember we were getting like the first iPhone or the flip phone or the Nokias and shit where you were just asked out. You had to re-input everybody's name, re-put all their phone numbers back in and all that shit. And then they had some cables and some little doodads that would transfer shit. Now it's just clicking.
Yeah.
Your phone is replicated. No problem.
So I lent Jim my BTX.
Yeah.
And I get it back from him. And there's some issues.
I told you that.
I dropped it.
He didn't just drop it. So he bent both of the eye pieces.
Okay.
It is on a 95
Oh, shit.
ATX. There's no scope cap anymore. There's no scope cover at the front anymore. And there's this big, I don't know if I told Jim this, there's this big slit in the front glass. So I just send it all to Swarovski.
Uh-huh.
And they sent me a message back, and they're pretty professional, but basically they said I broke every lens but one. Basically every lens but one inside the BTX 95 modular system has to be replaced.
And did they fix it all?
They fixed it, and Jim, I told Jim charged it up, fixed it, no problem.
Okay, they charged you to fix it.
Oh yeah, they charged you to fix
Well, how much damage are we talking about here?
900 bones.
Woo! Damn it, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got fresh glass out of the deal.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. But you notice he keeps jabbing me about borrowing it again.
Yeah. Well, now the glasses do he can see better.
Yeah.
Maybe he did you a favor.
Yeah, I'm updated now.
There you go.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened to those things?
Well, I wound up, you know how I've been, I have those slick tripods. I went through quite a few of those, the leg break. Well, I had one of the legs go floppy on me. And I was on this glassing up on these rocks, probably like 20 feet down.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was glassing the rock, for mule deer, and one of the legs went floppy. That thing's top heavy.
Yeah.
That thing's heavy.
Yeah.
And it just flipped. I'm like, oh, crap.
Was he got like the 624 out there with a fucking 15-pound set on top?
634, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
630.
Yeah.
Like a 10-pound fodder,
Crap.
all fucking cumbersome.
Yeah. Hey, the reason he likes Slick though is because Slick has like a guarantee, basically warranty, and I've had him fix a couple 634s, and if you crack one of those legs, they just fix it for you.
Well,
Yeah.
he did have a leg, took him forever to fix, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was from the COVID stuff or wherever. I never got it back. It took forever to get it. So
I think it
bought
goes to
one.
California.
Yeah. Well, they were saying they were missing some parts from some place.
Oh, okay.
I always tell, me and Robbie have Jim stories because Robbie's known Jim longer than I have, and Robbie always says Jim could fuck up an anvil.
Well, I think it's funny too because when I first started hunting with you, we get up out of this spot and Ryan's like walking all over in these circles, and I said, "What the fuck you doing?" He goes, "It's the circle of Jim."
I don't want to lose anything.
And then I didn't know you at the time, right? And then it all kind of came to fruition after a while. We learned what the circle of Jim was.
Jim is one of the best scouting hunting people that I've ever met. He's also got the worst case of ADD I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just part of the deal. Well, we were into an hour. You guys did you have any more questions, Jake?
Well, I get we did talk about, so we pretty much covered how to scout for that tag. And what about you? Do you ever do any e-scouting?
Yeah, definitely. I'm
You
always
do.
yeah. So I do. I mean, I've like during off season,
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with it. You know, like always looking for spots, but you gotta like you can't just find a spot on the e-scouting,
Mhm.
and you gotta kind of correlate that with the country you actually see. You know, because you can look at Google Earth or whatever all day long,
Mhm.
and then until you can, unless you already know the country, you know what the terrain, you know what you're looking at. And so, I mean, it's a good tool. So at
Mhm.
least you know what it kind of looks like. But until you go in there and you go, okay, this brush I'm looking at, this is what I'm looking at. I've
Yeah.
seen areas that they look great on Google Earth, and you go to them and they're
Oh yeah.
just the terrain they don't use.
Yeah.
So it's a good tool though, but
Yeah.
it helps you eliminate a lot of country.
So like in this situation, if I hired you to go scout out for this tag, for example, you're just going to rely on your local knowledge at the moment? Or are you going to do
Oh,
e-scouting first?
e-scouting first because like a lot of they're getting more. Man, I kind of don't like it.
Yeah.
But because then it allows everybody else to have
Yeah.
easy stuff. But
Yeah.
they're coming out with new features all the time. Like
All this LiDAR shit and
yeah, well, new features. Able to see, you know, more real time. Closer to the actual year.
yes.
In what the
You mean
habits.
like the images and stuff are
Yeah.
refreshed more often?
Yeah, and then you got like, and so you get more refreshed in images. Like say a burns, and a lot of times before you might not be able to see it. Even a couple years ago, you wouldn't know what the burn looked like. You might know it burnt, like you could look on Onyx and it shows, oh, hey, there was a fire in this area.
Uh-huh.
But until you actually go physically see it, you don't really know until it refreshes.
You can even pay for a fresh scan now. You can pick an area, right, Ryan?
Yep.
That's what Mark was saying. Mark Livesay.
Yep.
So we did a whole podcast on e-scouting. He was saying basically you can pick this area and you can literally pay for a live satellite upfeed of that area.
Yeah, so it just allows it a lot more. It's definitely a good tool that you'd be kind of wasting a lot of miles on if you didn't have. When I started scouting, I remember when I got obsessed scouting early. It was all about map. I had maps. There was no images.
Yeah.
And then I remember, okay, I think this basin's going to be open here, or this is going to be kind of looking, and you just have to go freaking hike in there and go see. And you might be just disappointed a lot. Like that's crap. I ain't going to see nothing in there. Then you get to, so now it's just got better, easier and easier for everybody, which I guess it's good for as a whole, but for individuals to shine out, I think it's the gap's closing.
Yep. Yep.
Onyx is showing more access points.
Guys are able to shoot further.
Yep, and then just like access points that you had to like kind of figure out on your own before. Now you can pretty much look at Onyx and hey, I can get in here, I can get into here, I can get in here. And it makes it just a lot easier for the more casual guys than.
Yeah.
Don't let Jim kid you. He would rival Mark Livesay in what he does e-scouting.
Oh, I bet.
He'd like a lot of the stuff that I watched and got from his Mark's e-scouting class. Jim's already showed me. He's pretty nerdy.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, like, when I was out in the WFO, dude, I'd be sitting on there I could sit on looking at maps or Google Earth. I could sit on there for like hours. Like it doesn't it's like fun.
But
like,
what you showed me, like you'd show me something or send me something, and I'm like,
It's like a video game.
yeah.
Oh, it is. I was like,
oh, hey, what is this route? I measure route. Okay. Oh, that would be a cool way to get up there.
What's funny about Jim is like the tools that he showed me. Like he would send me something like, well, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So then I'd go like, well, it's right there, and then I'd go figure that out, and I'm like, damn. So you have spent hours, as you on Google Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. When I was away from, like not able to scout physically, I'd be okay. I guess the strong point to ADHD is like you can focus on certain things that you like to do. Everything else kind of like falls to the wayside.
Extremely focused at one.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Annebelle.
Mhm.
I have a daughter that is a similar age to you, and I'm curious. Do you know what you want to do for a living when you grow up? Like, I mean, at this age of 16, you got to realize that the world's approaching you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your dad's preparing you in his own way. But do you see yourself in today's, like, not being able to afford a house, that kind of thing, focusing on college, trying not to pay too much for college, trying to get a scholarship and all that? Do you see yourself staying at home for an extended period of time? I mean, more than the age of 18, let's say, or do you have an idea of what you want to do for a living? Or how, what does it look like in a 16-year-old girl's brain?
I don't know. I don't know. A lot of kids, I don't know, my age want to move out and they're ready to go and be on their own, but I'm really not. Like love being at home and stuff like that. But I've been asking my mom, like, what should I do when I grow up? I just can't figure it out because I'm just like, I'm not a big school person. So anything that I do is going to have to be something like, I have a little bit of ADHD that my dad has. So I like have a hard time
more than a
focusing
little
on
bit.
things. Okay, a lot. I have a hard time focusing on things that I don't really necessarily care about. So I feel like if whatever I do, it's going to have to be something I really love to do, because if it's not, I don't think I'm going to be able to perfect it or even try. And so that's why I've been like running through like, what kind of things am I good at that I could do for a career?
Mm-hmm.
I just can't.
You don't know yet.
No, I don't.
Wow. Well, let's say that you get a scholarship and you go run track at Oregon State for 4 years and you do fantastic, and then you leave. Well, obviously you got to pick some point of direction
Yeah.
when you go to college, right?
Mhm.
Like you got to point it at teaching or point it at this or that, and
I think I want to get like something for business. Like I either want to own my own business or I don't know, like definitely a business, because my dad owns a business, and it's like, I know it can be stressful sometimes, but it seems kind of nice to be able to control your own, what you do instead of being stuck onto somebody else's like hours or whatever.
well, you're kind of in a room of business owners at the moment, so
Yeah, so
it is. It's a whole nother world than a 9 to 5 for somebody else,
Yeah.
and it definitely becomes addicting. Like,
mhm.
imagine the three of us probably don't want to go work for nobody else anymore once you do your own thing, and
I'm unemployable.
Yeah.
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a
Screw that.
lot of fucking. It's a shit ton of work. It can
Stress.
be. It can feel unrewarding at sometimes, and the stress level can go through the roof. But I don't think I'd have it any. You got to be the certain type of person to be cut out for it. There are people that can't handle that level of stress or hours worked and things like that. But if you're tough like your dad, I'm sure you'd be just fine. There's nothing else more rewarding though, as a whole, as having your own thing.
Yeah, like when my dad used to work for like the oil company, like when he was on like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, it was really hard. Like he was obviously working for someone or like for this place. And as soon as he switched over, like I know there's been stressful times, but it's been a lot better. Like I've been able to see my dad a lot more. Like he's just been around a lot more, and it's stressful sometimes, but in the same time, it's not, because when you want to go on a trip, you don't have to like be like, well, I have to go do this. You can, I don't know, you can kind of find your way around it. And so it's been kind of cool to watch my dad go from working for someone to having his own business, and it's encouraging. So
Yeah.
it makes me want to have my own business too. So
Another aspect of it, Aubrey was glad that I had my own business because I could go to all of her sporting events.
that's a big thing.
And people underestimate that too.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. The kids and
So
their
many track
track and
meets.
cross country stuff has been an insane amount. There was no, I would have missed 2/3 of their meets, and
Because you were working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
yeah, and even when I was working, in construction, I mean, that would be even less, so there was, I make it a point, because I basically take their sports almost as an investment, I'm not gonna, I put it as a high priority in my, life. So I'm not gonna, so I do make sure I make those things happen where I had no control over that before,
Well said. We want to see.
Well, if you ever want to come have the life, live a few days in the life of a business owner, I'm sure you can do the shit with your dad, but you're welcome to come around here or hang out with Ryan and myself and see what it takes to.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
be way funner than roofing or sheetrocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yes.
She'd probably quit. If she,
That's right. That's why I
It's not
said.
that fun.
That's why she said she could come hang out and make some guns and shit, or do
Yeah.
you can come back in Cerakote for a little while or whatever. We got another young lady your age named Emily who comes and she works summers here in the Cerakote department. So
That's cool.
yeah, you can always hang out and see if it's something you'd want to do.
I want to see you in the Olympics.
I know that's
That would be awesome too.
4 years. That's when
So she didn't say what she wanted to do, but I know that's the only thing she like in her brain.
yeah.
Like she hasn't got past that. Like,
Yep.
oh, I'm gonna run professionally. There ain't no other. She didn't say it, but that's
Other
what
option at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like him, like, oh, I'm gonna. That's literally like ever since I started running, I want to go to the Olympics one day. I want to be a professional runner, because it's one of those things that's like, at first it was a little rocky, but when I got hooked onto it, I love it now. Like each race, it's hard, but like you just love the feeling, And when I started to see progress, that's really when I started to. I didn't used to be very good, but as I see myself going up, it's really cool, and I love it.
That's your fucking goal. Don't let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Crush it.
again, my dad, like you guys say, he's like obsessed with like, looking for mountains and stuff like that. He's like obsessed with statistics or however you say it or whatever. But anyways, he'll come out of like the room and he'll be like, okay, Annabelle, I got all these times. He's gone through each person, looked at their times for the year, and for the past
This
4
is how
years.
fast you got to be to make it.
Yes. He has it down. Like oh my goodness, it's crazy. Like he can't load the dishwasher. He can't clean up after himself after he makes himself a sandwich, but he can come out and tell us every single time of the person that's going to be in my race.
Nice.
That's
But I
awesome.
love it though.
That's a dad's job.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I found out real quick with Jim. He is a numbers driven human.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mather.
There you go. Nice.
Anything else? Any parting shots?
Yeah. So I guess real quick on one of the things that, to get the girls, how, they all want to hunt with me and spend time. It was kind of, I always thought when I grew up with 9 or 8 brothers. And so I always thought I'd have boys to go hunting with and train for football. I love football when I was younger. And so then that's where the training for the track came in. But like Annabelle, I involved her, like as soon as she could be on a backpack, she was going with me in the mountains and just trying to made it like the whole time she was growing up with making that something that I wanted her to go do with me and, making it fun. And we're just making her be out there with me, not like, oh, hey, when you turn 10, we're going to go hunting. It was pretty much a part of her whole life growing up, So made her so she would see me bring animal home, so she would want to go mess with the guts or whatever, So she wasn't as scared of anything because she'd been around it a lot,
Yeah.
I made it a point to have her go, with me.
Well, playing with guts could make or break a hunter, I guess. If you're afraid of blood or afraid of organs, that could mess it up for you a little bit.
I said I want to be a surgeon. My mom's like, "Are you like?" I used to say, "I'm going to be a surgeon, like a doctor." And my mom's like, "Are you scared of that kind of stuff?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
The only problem would be the learning part, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm not scared of any of that kind of stuff. And
I was a weird kid. I told my parents I wanted to be a forensic pathologist. Was basically like doing autopsies and shit. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. 'Cause that shit, it doesn't mess with me at all. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you
for
guys.
letting me. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks.